Yeet. And we are live. Welcome back to Going the Distance live and in living color. So, welcome back for another week of Going the Distance. A few housekeeping things real quick. It is that holiday time of the season. So a wonderful gift to get the runner, the vasculitis patient, the rare disease patient, the life liver, or the just person that you care about in your family or friends for the holiday season. Be this guy right here. This book by some dude named Brandon Hudkins with John Fries, John. It's available over on Amazon.com. If you haven't picked up your copy, go right ahead and get one for somebody that you love. Oh, pick yourself up a copy. Give it to a friend if you've read it. Pass it along. Sorry, shameless self-promotion at the beginning of the podcast this week. Outside of that, there's things are slowly starting to wind down on my end as far as like being super busy and everything, which is great because it's getting to the holiday season. And we all want to slow down, take our time, enjoy it, take a deep breath, enjoy being with your friends and family, maybe travel a bit, the good things in life. So it's that time of year. Things start to slow down from athletic career. I had the team I'm working with here locally, High Point University, had their first track meet of the season on Sunday. So I was at a track meet all day Sunday, as those affairs usually are at the college level. You show up early in the morning and you'll leave late at night. It's kind of the way of track and field. Probably one of the reasons why we don't have loads of fans, but I'll save that for another podcast. Anyways, it went well. As normally is the case with most events or most meets, it was a mixed bag, right? Some people did good, some people did bad, and some people did somewhere in the middle. But we were, I guess, as a coach and myself and the other full-time coaches were looking for was effort. It's really early in the season, especially for our guys and girls that just finished up cross country season. There's like a lot of time, or not a lot. You got a little bit of downtime after the season to kind of recover and recoup. But for the sprinters and stuff that have been, and jumpers and all the other people, that non-distance runners that are part of the track team, it was their first opportunity to kind of compete all year since outdoor track season finished up in May. So it was really interesting just to watch how kids responded. And that's kind of really what we were looking for, because we knew everybody wasn't really race ready or race sharp. And if you're race sharp in December, it's honestly not a good sign. I know that sounds weird, but at this point in time in the year, you should be building your foundation of what you can draw upon later in the year. A great example, I'll just admit it. I stole this from my best friend. He talked about it all the time. But a lot of training is putting money in the bank, right? And the idea with training, especially the type of training that I believe in and a lot of other people believe in, is putting lots of money in the bank with the intent of making a really big account. And then come late in the season, you can pull some big withdrawals out of it. And those would be your races, ideally. But in order to do that, you've got to constantly put in the work. And if you try to get race ready too quickly, you don't allow yourself to build up a big account. So you start cashing checks that your ass can't cash. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple principle. I like the visualization of it. Another one is you spend all year trying to kind of hit base hits. You're not trying to swing for the fence in some of these sessions and workouts and stuff. So it's been interesting, but like we kind of put them in a situation where they're not obviously ideally fit or had an ideal build up, and we threw them in a race to kind of just see how some of them responded. And it was interesting. It's just interesting watching different people, different athletes respond to like the tension of the situation, respond to the kind of the adversity of the situation. And you're looking for things, and obviously you want everybody to respond a certain way and kick butt and fight back and claw, but that's just not reality. I was actually reminded randomly this week, we're listening to a podcast. The guy made the comment that we forget that talent is rare, right? I think we get pigeonholed into this as coaches or managers or people that are trying to figure out how people get to a certain level above them, how their friends or coworkers like went up the ladder and they didn't, or how somebody got better at a sport than you, or whatever the lot in life is. And we have to remember that whether you're somebody that's super talented in the business world with having a head for numbers and having a head to make some deals, or you're a super talented football player, we all, everybody's got some sort of talent, right? And but talent in any given field is rare, and that's why it's so hard to succeed in any given field, because there are talented people, and not everybody is gonna be talented. What's up, Rubus? So we have to remember that. And there's different parts of talent. Like I think I often forget, and I think other coaches do too, that the ability to work really hard and handle adversity well is also a talent within itself. Now, it is something like a lot of talents that can be worked on. Like you can be a talented musician, but if you never played a guitar, you don't know how to play it. So you have to work at it. You could be a talented athlete, but if you don't ever train, then you're not going to be good. So, with talent has to come some sort of work. And I think we as humans and people often kind of do forget that it is very, very rare, and it's not always easy to find. It's not always easy to find people that are super talented physically, or people that are super talented at working really hard, or the weird conglomeration of people, probably kind of like myself, that are stuck somewhere in the middle. But talent's really, really rare. And you have to find ways to work on it. And you have to find ways to overcome something, because if you're not talented at something, you have to work really hard at it if you want to be good. And if you are talented, you don't have to work as hard. And that's just, unfortunately, the world that we live in. It's how it is. But you see where you can always try to make improvements, and you should always want to be trying to improve your lot in life, no matter, not lot in life, but whatever you're trying to achieve, whether it's to be a better spouse, a better parent, a better citizen, a more, well-rounded person, whatever it is. You're trying to constantly improve that. And so I think we always need to remember that there's going to be people that are more talented than us, because talent is very rare. And if you're not talented, it means you're just going to have to work harder if you want something really bad. And that's what you're wanting to see as a coach, and what you want to see out of your fellow athletes and stuff is people want something really bad and willing to work really hard for it. And that's, I guess, what I was looking for as a coach, what I look for in my own athletes, whether they're, with the university or athletes that I coach individually. And it's what I like surrounding myself with as an athlete as well when I'm working out, is surrounding myself with people, whether they're super talented or whether they're really hard workers and are not as talented. I like surrounding myself with people that all want to try to get better and are all willing to do the things to get them to that level that they want to achieve. And surrounding yourself with those people, I think, is so just crucial to success, so crucial to happiness. Things just seem to fall in place when everybody's kind of on that same page in your group or your team or your family or whatever it is. And kind of to kind of plow this into one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight. Wanted to give a big shout out to some friends of mine that ran the big marathon out in California over the weekend, called the California International Marathon out in Sacramento, California. Andrew Colley, some of you might have seen me post about this earlier in the week, or not earlier in the week, late in the week last week. But Colley was one of the people that I had as a guest on here, podcast, and him and some of his fellow teammates at Zap Fitness, who are a group of professional distance runners that live and train out of Blowing Rock, North Carolina, which is the high country, which is right next to Boone, which is right next to Appalachian State, where I went to college, and where I spent the overwhelming majority of the last, or from 2009 to 2017. I spent, I think, 8 of those 9 years, or 7 of those, or 7.5 of those 9 years in there up in Boone. So I trained alongside a lot of these guys, and somebody like Colley, who is not only just a dear friend, but is somebody I respect as a fellow competitor, who has struggled a lot through setback after setback, dealing with injuries. He had to, excuse me, hold on. He had to have surgery last fall, finally, to hopefully fix the thing that was going to be the thing that, as an athlete, you're always dealing with this thing that's been the thing that's always been holding you back. He had surgery to correct a weird problem that he was having, where they went in and had to actually cut the back. They have like these crazy hook scars on the back of his legs, and they had to go in. They go in each leg and pull out his veins because, or no, excuse, arteries, because I think it was arteries. I don't know. One of his sets of blood vessels. I think it might have been the arteries going down there. But anyways, they pull him out, prop him up, because every time he puts his foot down on the ground and his muscles contracted, it was cutting off blood supply to his lower leg. So it was a really invasive surgery. He got one leg done, 6 weeks, each leg done, 6 weeks apart. So the recovery time on it's super long, because you kind of basically spend 3 months there with a leg that doesn't work, and then they, mess up the other leg. So it's a pretty long road back. And before that, he dealt with, tons of setbacks, whether it be sacral stress fractures or stress fractures in his lower limb. So he had really fought through a lot, and he knocked out his Olympic trials marathon qualifier. He'd already run a pretty quick half, but you never know. Tons of people have been good at the half marathon, but never excelled at the marathon. And him, and along with his teammates, all 5 of the people that went up there to run, or who are all 5 people that I adore, 4 guys and 1 girl, they all knocked out their qualifier, so I'm super pumped and happy for them, because that's a big relief when you get that mark and you get that off your back, and you can kind of just focus on, you know, obviously continuing to get better, but you don't have the stress of wondering whether you're going to be at the event. And they all knocked it out of the park. I was particularly excited to see Kali have a good race. I know he was probably hoping to run a little bit faster, but you know, he can certainly build and move and grow from the 2:15 that he ran. But Joe and Josh, man, God, they crushed it. They ran 2:13 low, and they're all three, or all four of the dudes that ran were all debuting at the marathon. And Joe and Josh finished third and fourth overall, right there together. They ran most of the. I mean, they finished, I think, about 5 or 6 seconds apart. They ran the overwhelming majority of the race together. Probably the whole 26 miles, with probably a little separation over the last quarter mile there, but with Josh. But yeah, no, they absolutely crushed it. And Joe's been a guy too that's been on the circuit and been around for a long time, and kind of beat his head against the wall, and not seen much success with doing more and training harder, being able to do more. And he kept plugging away at stuff on the track, and it just never really worked out. And I could tell in some talks with him over the summer that he was just getting really frustrated, and he decided to make the jump from the being pretty much a full-time 5K runner to jumping headfirst into a marathon this fall. And it went off with a smashing success. And to somebody about stories of people overcoming stuff, and seeing people and see my friends that I've watched struggle a lot, and a lot of it kind of silently, because there's not a big spotlight on all of us as distance runners. But to see them struggle for so long and then finally have that breakthrough and finally have that moment kind of like I did in 2016. And it also gives me a lot of motivation going forward, and reminds me, even though I spend so much time trying to pump people up and trying to get them to be reminded, that you got to keep working, got to keep plugging away. You know, I get down too. And sometimes you often wonder if, you know, you're going to have that breakthrough, or if I'm going to have that breakthrough again, or whatever it is. And you get trapped in that. And, you know, as much as I try to push forward all the time and try to, you know, be super confident things are going to work out for me, I still get a lot of energy from seeing people that I care about crush it. And it doesn't always have to be in the running world, but seeing people succeed in whatever they do. Even if it's just becoming, you know, I've got my best friend's a teacher now, and he's his first year as a full-time teacher, and he's learning the ropes, and it's slowly getting a little bit easier for him. See him kind of find his stride and figure it out is it's a big relief, and it's exciting. And seeing people succeed and just kind of plow through and keep their head down, but then kind of find that light at the end of the tunnel that keeps them going. It's always exciting. So just keep that in mind. There's all these great stories. Social media certainly helps some with it. But with all the craziness in the world surrounding Trump, and, you know, the possible end for all of us if we end up in nuclear war, or if the globe's going to burn up because of climate change, or if the next person that gets elected is going to be, you know, the end of civilization, or whatever it is. You know, there's just a lot of just fear, and just constantly feeling like, oh my God, it's not ever going to work out. So I think right now is a better time than ever to share some of these success stories. So big shout out to Jolie, to Andrew Colley, Joe Stillen, Matt McClintock, Josh, Joanna. You guys crushed at CIM. Hope to see you all soon. I hope you're all enjoying not running right now, and stuffing your faces with things that you have deprived yourself of over the last 3 or 4 months. So I forgot where I was going with this. It's There it is. Okay. I wanted to switch gears for a minute, and I saw a great graphic earlier from the Vasculitis Foundation, and they um, put out a couple of statistics that I wanted to just kind of make everybody aware of and thank people about because um, Giving Tuesday was a couple weeks ago, and we talked kind of about the recap of that. I think another week or two ago, and I've talked kind of ad nauseum on here, like the great things that the foundation does for people. But they put out a little graph yesterday, I believe it was, that I saw and stumbled upon, and just let people know kind of what you're doing when you support the foundation is going to something that's very meaningful. And these are just kind of some statistics to let everybody know where their impact is going and how it's going to help people. So far this year, the foundation has raised over $89,000. And that stuff all, as I said in the past, goes to funding new research, funding continuing education programs for doctors, outreach and awareness campaigns for patient and patient support. The Vasculitis Foundation in total has contributed over $162,000 to new research, and that's where stuff like the VF and that the $162,000 sounds like a lot of money. But when you're talking about research grants and talking about things that are very, very expensive to develop, that's not a lot. These life-saving treatments cost a lot of money, and they cost a lot of money to develop. And $162,000 is certainly a large chunk of change. But if you look at, not to pick on I don't want to sound like I'm picking on cancer, but if you look at something like cancer, which is another illness that is often deadly and affects, I think, 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 people in the United States will have some sort of cancer potentially in their life, I believe, or know somebody that. I saw that statistic somewhere, I think, recently, but 1 out of 3 or 4 people gets it. So, it's obviously something that's impacts, millions of people. And with that comes loads of money for research and stuff. So if you look at what the foundation is able to do with their little bit of resources to give to the funding, it goes a long way. The VF itself this year has answered over 9,000 calls and emails by the patient support staff. So that's people there at the head office in Kansas City. That's people like myself, and people like the other young adult leaders and the people that lead local chapters. Those are the people that have the direct contact with other patients and with other support staff, and help get them plugged into our community, help them kind of find a way through this, really scary time for a lot of people. And, they got them to things like the Victory Over Vasculitis page on Facebook. They got them to the Vasculitis Foundation has a discussion board where people are constantly asking millions of questions. A lot of them don't have access to good doctors, so they're dealing with a doctor that knows nothing about their ridiculously rare disease. And it's a good place for people to get a lot of information, and people are on it almost all day long at some point in time. And there's I've learned a lot on there over the years. I think there's well over 6,000 people on it now, and the people that kind of monitor it and help make sure all the right information is getting pushed out, have to work a lot to do that. And also make sure it stays civil and doesn't get too gross, because it's like this rash right here. I don't know what it is. Should I go to the doctor? A little side boob in there. Got to make sure it stays PC for the old Facebook. But anyways, I saw that, and I know we talked a lot a couple weeks ago about the foundation and everything that they do and the Giving Tuesday thing. So um, I want everybody to know that anybody that's ever donated the money that you're doing, or the money that you're doing, the money that you're donating has a real impact and helps support a lot of people. So thank you, thank you very much. I did have a random question. You can answer this. If you don't answer it live, that's cool. If you catch this later, one thing I have not done a lot of recently, and quite frankly, a lot of it's been because of this podcast every week and getting things ready for that and the other things that I'm doing. I haven't done any blogs, like actual written blogs, in a while. I've started a few at different times here recently, but I've kind of gotten away from it, and I kind of wanted to know your guys and gals' opinions of it. If you've never been to my blog or heard about it, here's the link now. And I've tackled a ton of different topics. Some of it's been update type stuff like you get here. Other things have kind of gone into dealing with relapses, some of the events that I've been to, thoughts. I think one of my favorite ones to write was I think I called it "Thoughts from a Steroid Crippled Brain." Let's see if I can flip over real quick and find that one. Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones to write. It was kind of wild. A little backstory on that one. I was dealing with, like, when you're on prednisone and loads up, you get kind of manic and it's kind of hard to control. And so your brain just sometimes, and if you're like me, you already kind of got this brain that runs 1,000,000 miles an hour anyway, and then you pump it up on steroids, literally pump it up on steroids. It just can just go, and your brain just goes for the spin cycle. Luckily, I had the opportunity to capture some of those thoughts in the keyboard, and kind of try to walk you through what the thought process is when your brain's like that, because a lot of people don't ever get to experience that. So it's kind of a wild trip. But I got a lot of different blogs and stuff on varying topics. I wrote a lot for a couple years. I would update it pretty frequently. But with delves into different technology and doing this, being encouraged by Allison Lent to do this, what was originally set up to talk about my book, to kind of help promote that after it came out, has kind of turned into something that we do on a weekly basis, and something I love and I want to continue and try to grow. So that came at the cost of some actual writing. So if y'all want to see more of that, have some more things that you can read, have me update things on that more, like, let me know in the comments section, because I was writing a lot for a long time, and I've got snippets of paper or my notebook and stuff that I was writing stuff in, and I was writing a lot on the computer, and there's thoughts of what the next book might be, and always writing has become something I'm not good at. But one of those things, talent, we were talking about it earlier, the talent thing is something that I've had to work at to kind of suss out a better way to communicate, because I'm not very good at it in the written word. And heck, even in the spoken word, I have the tendency to ramble on. Cue a little Led Zeppelin. If I'd have planned this, that'd been great. I could have just queued it actually right up, but but I ramble, so I will ramble on. I done lost my whole train of thought here because I was rambling. Oh yeah, so I've been writing a lot, and I wasn't good at it. So when you're not good at something, like I said earlier, you got to work harder. If if the written word doesn't come to you as easily or as eloquently as it comes to some people, or as creatively as it comes to some people, the Q Hunter S. Thompson and his actually probably that thoughts of a steroid crippled brain is probably something that would almost mimic a little bit kind of his uh, drug fueled writing. Probably, maybe, obviously not nearly as good. Hunter's one of the greats, but it's kind of the manic mood that I was in at the time. Very reminiscent of something like probably Fear and Loathing without the massive doses of hallucinogenic drugs to fuel it even more. But yeah, it was something that I did a lot of, and something I've honestly kind of felt myself missing. But the fear of bombarding you all with too much stuff. Let me know if it's something y'all liked. If there's some things in there that you think good, things you might want to expand on or write more about. I mean, the topics were all over the place. Like I said, I talked about that. I even did an interview with my friend Bill on there. I talked to, a lot about the races and some of my trips. I explained my chest tattoo where the all hope is gone. That was kind of the first one I wrote. And I chronicled a lot. I complained about the beer mile. I talked a lot about how you kind of can't. I talked about one big post that I really liked, that you kind of just can't separate life. And that came shortly after my friend Cameron died, and I was trying to figure out how to deal with life and deal with something else that was incredibly depressing and impactful on my life, and how you want to have these moments where you kind of try to soldier on and compartmentalize things, and just not let things affect other things, by putting this thing that's immensely powerful or sad or good, even it's something to be good. You try to put it in that little box and leave it there, but you can't do that. So you kind of can't separate out the different parts of life. They all affect each other. I mean, heck, if you're just hungry, that can affect who you are as a person. And how you interact with people. So having a friend die is certainly impactful. Contracting a rare disease is obviously something that's super impactful on how you're going to go through life. Having a lot of success, having success in 2016, and dealing with all of that, had an impact on the rest of my life. Mainly just inflating my ego even larger than it already was. And in an unhealthy way, not in a helpful way, but in a very unhealthy way, we shall say. But yeah, and you kind of can't separate those all out. So like I did a blog kind of about that. But if it's something you guys are interested in seeing more of, at the risk of saturating the market with too much BHUDge, let me know. I could even just do things like where I just leave the space for more open topics and discussion here, like with the podcast, and then like leave the race recaps and all that stuff for more concrete things like the blog. I don't know. Or if you just want more of everything, I'm happy to oblige. But big shout out, baby, by the way, to Briars for this awesome hat. No, Briars did not give this to me. This was my grandfather's hat. He worked for Still Test, and which was then bought out by Briars. He was a truck driver. He drove around. I'm probably butcher this, but I believe he was a regional distribution manager for Briars. Pops will have to correct me. I think I saw him on here at one point. If you're still there, Dad, you can correct me. But I got his hat. I've laid claim to the watch, but I think me and my brother will probably have to fight. Have a fight to the death over it. But it's that time of year. You can break out the old corduroy. This is real corduroy, so it's real hot in the summer. which occasionally I will suffer through for fashion. I am one of those type people. But big shout out to Briars, because who doesn't love ice cream? What type of human are you if you don't like ice cream? And if you are the type that doesn't, then I don't want to be around you. You can go ahead and just log off. But anyways, let me know. Let me, if you want me to like break things down. The one thing I was thinking about, ironically writing about is, learning how to do your best work, because I've seen a lot of that. This was a topic that I was thinking about maybe writing about or talking on here about, but I think maybe writing about it a little bit more might help people. But I think we all don't understand how we operate, right? A lot of us don't understand how much, like how we really, like what really makes us tick as a person. And I think we could probably do a little bit better job of figuring out how that we operate, so that you can kind of like optimize your experience of whatever you're trying to do, whether that's trying to write out a blog, whether that's trying to, get your deadline done at work, whether that's you're trying to get home renovations done, or whether you're trying to make a career change, whatever you got to figure out, or, whether you're just trying to get better at something, you got to figure out how do you operate? How do you approach tasks? How do you study? That was a big one for me. Shocker, giant procrastinator. Ironically, side story, I did this thing where, like, growing up, they would say, in middle school, you're not going to be able to get away with these study habits that you have in elementary school. You can't keep waiting till the last minute. That's going to come back to bite you in middle school. And in middle school, they're like, you know what? In high school, this isn't going to fly. You're going to have to be more prepared. And I was like, yeah, okay. Got this. Slid through high school procrastinating. They're like, college is really, really hard. They're going to bust you. You're not going to be able to do this. Slid right through college. Procrastinating. I was the idiot in the lab, like in the computer lab, like finishing up the last sentences and printing it off right before class. And then, like, inevitably the printer's broke and you got to go, well, professor, like, I don't have a printer, so like the printer's broke right now, when I did have a printer at home. But like, the printer's down, like I was going to print it off, and then they're like, well, I don't care, you should have been prepared. Well, it's like, but that's the printer, and I don't care. And you took the late penalty and you moved on with life. But I kept on procrastinating. None of it stopped me. And then within my first semester of grad school, I got put on my rear, and you get put on academic probation in grad school because you made C. You don't have a choice but to get it together and figure out a better path forward. So I had to learn that. So I procrastinated a little bit less. And now in life, I pretty much continue to opt away. When I was writing, and this was just absolutely shameless again, but when we were finishing up this book, Going the Distance, the night before it was due into the old Amazon algorithm, I was sitting reading over it again and again and again with my girlfriend and my mother, who were assistant editors, I guess. I don't know what we want to call them, but they were helping me out to make sure everything was sussed out and made sense and was in a coherent form that I could actually charge money for. But I've had to figure out how to work. And even with my own work, with trying to help athletes and everything else, like, you got to figure out a way to make things work, right? You got to figure out how to optimize whether it's like closing the blinds or whether that's putting on the TV, however it is, you got to figure that all out. And I've learned how I work really well. If there's not a crunch, I don't get anything done. And it's generally when there's a crunch, I'm generally trying to make it more of a crunch. It's like, oh, I need to like go get this done before time X. It's like, well, I hadn't cleaned out my closet in a while. Let's straighten up my closet first. Generally, if you find me doing chores around the house, it's because I've got something else I need to do, but it's just not quite pressing enough. I'm trying to really press that line um, up even more. Uh, but I figured out that that's how I operate, and I just keep doing it, and I'm probably gonna keep doing it for the rest of my life. But uh, figure out how to optimize your work environment stuff. And I was thinking about writing about that. So I just rambled about that for like 5 minutes. But those are topics I can cover. If there's something people want to know, or people have, I could do training, whatever it is. I could spill it all out there for you. So just let me know in the comments if you've managed to make it this far into the podcast and not logged off and been like, why is Facebook even allowing this guy a platform to talk? Then give a comment in the sections, and we'll maybe do a poll or something, and I'll write one up again. But I miss it, and I want to find the best ways to get it to you and get it out there into the world to keep helping people, keep sharing ideas. I like to learn a lot. I like to be challenged. I like to challenge other people. If I can help challenge your thoughts, the deadline ends the process. True. Very, very true, Mary Frances. The deadline ends the process. That is so true. I like that. I probably should write that on my little board up here. I'm going to jot it down in my notes, actually, because I've learned that notes help me. Hopefully you can hear that through the mic. Deadline ends the process. But you got to be prepared. So let me know. Throw it in the comments, and we'll get cracking and get some more things in your way that might help you along your journey. Might make you look yourself in the mirror and force yourself to make some changes, or help you pat yourself on the back and get through a tough time, or make you do something just a little smarter, or be a little tougher, or be a little dumber, have a little more fun. Whatever it is, let me know. Jim Beam, procrastination is an art. It is a beautiful art form. And after 63 years, I'm approaching Picasso status. You are my hero, Jim Beam. You are my hero. You are my hero. So anytime people tell me that I can't keep procrastinating, I almost say, but Jim Beam's done it his whole life. His whole life. Why stop now? But when I was in design, that made me fancy myself an artist. I have been around a lot of artists in my days, and many of an artist are very, very heavy, hardcore procrastinators. It's often when in fact, some of them are such hard procrastinators that they never finish. But the muse has to strike, right? And for that, then that's what it is, right? The muse or the flow or whatever it is to get things done. That energy that fuels you has to strike. And if you don't, like for me, when something's a long way off, I don't feel the pressure for it. Whereas, great example, my girlfriend, who was 100% the opposite way, she was one of those jerks that would turn in papers early. And that's how she operates, because she feels that pressure from really far out to get it done. Not me. It's because you always think there'll be a better idea. Yeah, you want to hope that if it's like me, you always want to think that there's a better idea, but then you just end up going with the first thing that you ever thought of anyways. And so it just completes the circle of weirdness and stupidity. But you gotta find what works for you. So the deadline ends the process. I'm not gonna. You don't want to lock it in. You don't want to lock it in because that can, that makes it permanent. It's like coloring with Sharpie. It's just not. You got to be. Oh God, I gotta say you got to be a wizard. But I actually saw. Oh God, his name's leaving me now. God, he was an artist he drew a lot of comics. No. Drawing a complete blank on his name. No. And I am probably not going to find it here in time. I want to say it's Neil something. Neil Adams. Boom. Oh my God. Anyways, I saw Neil Adams at a. He's an artist. He's drawn a lot of superheroes. He he's a comic book artist, and I was at a comic book convention because I'm 100% nerd. Um, and he at his booth, we didn't fork over the cash to get a picture, but we just stood there and watched him do this. He drew in Sharpie, so he would draw like you would pay your $50 or whatever, and he would draw you out like, "Is what like who do you want?" And he'd be like Batman. So he would draw out his Batman real quick in a Sharpie, or you go Superman, or Robin, or the Flash, or whatever, because he did a lot of DC guys. And so he would draw up one real quick, and he's doing it in Sharpie, and then he signs the bottom of it, and it was just mind blowing because homie was drawing in Sharpie. Dude was a stud. Dude put one line down on the paper. Sitting, it's technically like a little sketch or whatever, but it's just one line, and that line is important. That line is important to something. And obviously he's done it a lot. He's practiced a lot. So he got really good at it, but obviously he's also extremely talented. But because there's a lot of people that can't draw like that. But it was really, really cool to see. I'm always mesmerized by, I know he's drawn them a million times, and it's practice, 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 practice. I don't have to think about the process of running when I'm doing it. It just happens. I don't be like, all right, I have to put my foot in front of the other, lift it off the ground, move my arms this way. So I get it. I get it's a process, but I'm just absolutely captivated by people that are really good at the things that they've done, that they do. They're really good at their art form or their sport or whatever it is. They're really good at their form of self-expression. But if you ever get the chance to do that, you can see him. You see guys like Jim Lee. There's great YouTube videos of them just seeing how fast they can draw, because they do it all the time. That's their job and their passion and their art and their muse or whatever it is. But those people can lock it in. Those people are good at it. But they've risen to the top because they're talented, and talent is rare to bring this full circle. Boom. Woo! I did it. I somehow just brought that all the way around. If you were here at the beginning, we were talking about how talent's rare. So we brought that full circle. So on that note, we are going to go ahead and close things out. If you missed stuff at the top, remember it is the holiday season. Another shameless plug for this book written by Brandon Hudgens and John Freeze. It's available on Amazon.com. If you scroll all the way up in the links, it's the link. If you scroll all the way up in the comments, the link, or down in the comments, depending on how you're watching this, up, down, around, at the top of the comments, beginning of the comments section, you can find the link for that book from Amazon.com. They will probably appreciate it, and I will appreciate it even more. Give a shout out, I guess, to a couple of people that help make me and keep me going. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and then it came to fruition. Luckily, not luckily, but partnership came to fruition out of this. If you're into CBD oil at all, I have now partnered with Canna Athletics, a phenomenal CBD oil, and they make some creams and stuff as well. If you want to try their supplements, they've got the regular CBD oil, and they've also got some rubs that are fantastic. That stuff has kind of helped change my life, and some other people's lives I know, um, for a fact that it, it's not a cure all, obviously, but it has helped increase my, just, I don't want to say happiness in life, but it's helped me sleep better and helped me deal with a lot of inflammation that I wasn't taking anything for, because I'm stubborn and I'm trying to be a better steward of my body. So I wasn't taking sleep aids, and I wasn't taking things like ibuprofen to help with the pain and stuff of running and training and beating my body up all the time. Uh, it's worked wonders. Also, if you actually, maybe you saw my post earlier, I use from today, I had one of the pretty daggone good workout. But after all my workouts, I refuel with Cocoa Elite. It is a chocolate recovery drink that is actually FDA registered as a food. So it is not just a supplement. It's not just some BS thing that's filled with a bunch of garbage. And you're not quite sure what you're getting. But they went the hard route and registered actually as a food, and have to follow guidelines. And I've been using Cocoa Elite now for a couple months, will be 3 years. It's the sole recovery drink that I've used for the last 3 years, and I love it. First off, I have a chocolate problem, so any chance that I can just chug some chocolate drink and think it's healthy, I'll definitely do that. And post workout is a great opportunity to indulge in some chocolate. And now I crave it constantly all the time after I run. And if I don't have it for some reason, I didn't pack it, I forgot or something, my mouth literally salivates until I get it. So I'm a love it. I'm a big fan of it. If you want to enter that code Brandon-30359, you get 10% off. Or if you want to enter BHUDGE10 Can Athletics, you can get 10% off there. So check those out. They are supporters of myself, and they help keep me ticking. And I like to thank them for that. Recovery drinks and CBD oil are two important parts of my training. So if you do any of the things that are similar to me, I'd recommend trying those things out. But as I do every week, I challenge everybody at the end to go out into the world and confront yourself with something that you might not understand, you might not get. Have a conversation with somebody that might be a little difficult or might be a little nuanced, because you might learn something. It might help you see the world through somebody else's eyes, a little different. Hopefully I've done that for you tonight, as I strive to every night and every week. But you guys know I love you all so very much, all you crazy bleep, 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 bleeps. We'll be back next week, guys. We're getting closer to Christmas, my favorite holiday. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.